Hello, everybody. Welcome to 360 Coaching with Premier Teaching and Learning. Today, I have with me Laurel Fitch. Hi.
How are you doing today, Ms. Williams?
I am fine.
Good.
He is amazing. Let me just say that. He is an experienced school educator with a history of working in primary and secondary education. He has a background full of literacy, classroom management, language arts, and lesson planning. You guys, he is phenomenal. He is a strong educator. Let me just say, with a passion, just a passion for loving, learning, and experiencing, and working with students. Chicago State in the house. Aren't you in Chicago?
That's right.
My goodness. Represent, I love the food. I love Chicago. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm great to be here. And I know this is different times here working remotely, but we're going to make it happen today.
I appreciate it. I so appreciate it. And when you think about people, he is one of those people who are always on. So make sure you connect with him. He gives great tips weekly. And then he has an amazing book that's out, but I'll let him share.
Thank you so much for having me, Ms. Williams. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure that you leave all feedback, questions, comments, concerns. You can reach me by going to my website. That is www.𝐿aRoux-and-Fitch.com. I have tons of videos from my archive, also instructional different artifacts in there, national articles that I've written in my past. So please make sure that you go to my website. Also, like what Ms. Williams said, you can reach me on Sundays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have Breaking the Education Code, the end of pulpit teaching, where we highlight different members that are doing some wonderful and phenomenal things out there in America. We focus on curriculum, culture, as well as instruction. So please go to my Facebook page and follow me at LaRue Fitch. As Ms. Williams said, I do have my book out called Breaking the Education Code, the instructional guide for enhancing teacher capacity while increasing scholar achievement. Please make sure that you go to my website for ordering information. I sign every single copy and I send it right out on the spot. So please go to my website. This book focuses on culture, curriculum instruction, equity versus equality, restorative justice, MTSS, case management, data-driven instruction. Real original information in here. So please make sure that you purchase my book by going to my website at 𝐿aRoux-and-Fitch.com. So I'm going to share. I know that was a lot, right? But let's get right into it. My PowerPoint, again, like Ms. Williams said, Breaking the Education Code, the end of pulpit teaching. Right? And I put together this PowerPoint to focus on equity supports for our teachers. I know that's a big buzzword that is going around, and how we support our scholars by saying we want to provide equity supports, AKA personalized learning, to support our babies to ensure that we eliminate, this achievement gap that's currently happening in education and provide them with that individual intensive enrichment supports so they can be on track to becoming college and career ready. So I've taken that whole spell and I flipped it to support our teachers. And when I say our teachers, I'm speaking more of our first year teachers that are coming into the profession. Right? So I have an equity-based 21st century professional development coaching cyclical model, right? I know that's a lot out there.
A lot.
It's a lot of information, but a cycle that we can support our teachers, because what we want to do also when we talk about eliminating the achievement gap that's currently happening in America within our teachers, we want to eliminate the retention rate, right? Our retention rate is becoming crazy when we talk about keeping our teachers. So this support cycle here will make sure that our teachers are growing and building their capacity. They're growing based on their achievement level, their growth level. And I'm here to support you remotely. Like I said, go to my website and you can go to my Facebook page also to inbox me if you need additional support. So let's get right into it. So 21st century professional growth and development, right? We're going to focus on capacity and support, right? Coaching cycle. Also a continuous growth support, right? So I've taken the 4 domains that a lot of schools, a lot of districts have adopted from Charlotte Danielson's, right? The 4 domains. Number 1, planning and preparation, right? That's just lesson planning, okay? Culture and climate. When you walk into the room, you can kind of feel the learning that's happening, right? Who's running the show, right? Our teachers acting as a facilitator, our students having a collaborative conversation in the classroom, right? That's culture and climate. How are you setting the tone for high quality instruction? Then instruction, right? How are we doing this, right? Are we focusing on different high leverage instructional strategies like Socratic seminar? Are they talking? right? And my goal is to make sure that we focus on delivering high quality instruction, making sure that's intentional. And then last but not least, I have the reflection, right? And it's always a growth mindset. We want to ensure that we are growing. So with planning and preparation, we want to focus on culturally linguistically relevant education, right, and planning. We have to think with the end in mind, right? How can we support all diversity into our classroom? We talk about different subgroups, right? Black, brown, white, Asian, specific. It doesn't matter, right? We talk about including the LGBTQ plus into our curriculum. We want to ensure that we have a diverse setting that is occurring in our classroom. And we have to think about the different accommodations as well as the modifications and some of those scholars that need those individual educational plan supports. So how can we create a curriculum, right, as we plan around this and support our teachers around this, so we welcome diversity into the classroom and is reflected within the culture and climate, right? Culture and climate, are we building a community, right? Everybody's holding each other accountable. Ms. Williams, when I talk about culture and climate, I'm talking about the 4 disciplines of execution, right? I'm talking about using Stephen Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people that's reflected into our classroom, right? I'm talking about providing equity supports, knowing if you have 20 plus scholars in your classroom, you have 20 plus scholar different, let's say, accommodations, modifications, the way that you teach, the swag that you're delivering, the instruction, everything. You can welcome everybody, because at the end of the day, we all have scholars in our classroom that learn differently, right? And we have to ensure that we support them and meet them where they are at. Our babies, right, should be able to learn and reflect on how they want to learn. Teachers have to adjust their instructional practices to meet the needs of all individual students. Students should not have to learn and adjust the way they learn to meet the way that we deliver high quality instruction. So this cycle is intentional to support that. Also, we talk about justice. Now we're talking about social justice, in our classroom. We know what's happening currently in America, right? That has to be implemented into our culture and climate, right? And then we talk about diversity, which I touched on. How do we welcome that into our classroom, right? How are we grouping our students? Are we intentional, right? We have to be more specific. Are we grouping them toward, based on, what they like to do? Are we using data? How are our groups? We have to really be intentional with that. The instruction.
This is a lot, and I'm trying to unpack all the pieces that you said. And I often wonder, in what capacity are you able to, because you already have a lot on your plate. So what capacity are you able to support the new teacher with infusing their curriculum? Are you just meeting with them one-on-one, having them write it down in their curriculum? Is it already portrayed on a yearly map? Is everybody included? What are some ideas? How would you have other principals and leaders kind of follow your lead?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say first and foremost, you need to make sure like you do with your scholars, you give a diagnosis assessment, some sort of baseline assessment. So survey the teachers, right, to find out where they are at. Right? You want to survey the teachers and go from there. And then what you don't want to do, Ms. Williams, is focus on more summative evaluations. And that's why I'm saying this 21st century professional growth and development is very intentional. It's your formal, observation, your pop-ins, your daily pop-ins, and you're giving feedback. This is all formative, right? And so teachers can sit there and grow and reflect accordingly, because what we're finding out in education, Ms. Williams, is that a lot of teachers are so nervous, are so scared when it comes to evaluation, right? And we get them when they come fresh out of college, and we're so excited, they're so thrilled. We don't leverage leadership and responsibilities to them. We don't build capacity in our buildings so that other teachers can run this cycle, right? While we reflect and come together, right? We don't do this. So we have to be intentional and always assume that teachers don't know and meet them where they are at. And that's why I'm saying this 21st century professional growth and development supports new teachers, because the end in mind is to create a culture where teachers are becoming reflective, they're adjusting accordingly, and they're always able to say, you know what can I do to better the situation? So they put the ownership back on them. So now when it comes to you actually having to implement those summative evaluations to go in and give ratings, now the teachers are like, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter because my capacity is built, and all you doing is coming to my classroom focused on compliance. So it is what it is. So I love this cycle. I love it because it gets teachers to think, to reflect, and to adjust accordingly. And the last step, right, that we talked about, Ms. Williams, with this is reflection. I think this is critical and key, right, to everything that we do. We have to reflect. Okay, and we have to instill that into our newer teachers that are coming fresh out of college, right? We have to keep ourselves open-minded, right? You know, we have to display a growth mindset, right? Because if we don't, then when it comes to these sort of evaluations and those ratings, they become compliance driven. They become the I got you moments, and it kind of shifts your culture in the building where teachers are like, wow, now you're getting the unions involved and things of that nature. So what you want to do is shatter that paradigm, make it seem like, you know, I played football all of my life before I became a teacher. And I was like, wow, I love the practices. Now the games were on Sundays. So think about that. When it comes to evaluations, that's the game on Sundays. We practice. Everything else is practice. And we as leaders, as you said, coaches, administrators, instructional leaders, we have to be intentional the way that we coach our teachers, because we have to remember this, Ms. Williams. We can't go in a classroom and teach those 20 plus students. We have to leverage leadership responsibilities to our teachers to impact change in those students in which we're servicing. We always have to be intentional the way that we coach and build capacity within our teachers.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And I'm trying to think, I remember most of my conversation was relationships at the beginning, walking around, building relationships. I used a lot of flattery. To get people to open up, to have those dialogues, because you don't want that gotcha moment. So I love this. Yes.
Yeah. But you know what, Ms. Wood, absolutely. I really feel as I'm currently a consultant, but as a former principal, former teacher, you have to cultivate that culture into your building, and you have to, it's the way that you deliver the message. You have to be intentional. Like, listen, I want you guys to grow. At the end of the day, you have to show what's in the best interest of the teacher, right? And not push the conversation around test scores or, your evaluation is coming up soon. You have to say, you know what, I want to instill these strategies in you because I know you are great at what you need, or you are great at what you do. Because at the end of the day, if you're not there, right, all great leaders are leaders that can build leadership in other leaders, and those can build leaderships in other leaders as well. So your leadership is reflected by the teachers in which you're servicing. So we have to always remember that as we are going within our coaching cycle and being intentional and not just using everything as compliance as a checklist.
Yeah, I like it. Yep.
Absolutely. So I have a 4-year plan, right? That, is still in the creativity process, right? But year 1, coaching, equity supports, meeting the teachers where they are at, right? You're just focusing, like you said, Ms. Williams, the whole relationships. You're trying to build relationships, build the comfort level. All you are doing is making sure that you're supporting the mindset, right? You're coaching around mindset. That's key, right? You're coaching around mindset, and it has to be a mindset shift for our administrators as well. Year 2, you're going to continuously do the same thing. It's continuously coaching, equity supports. You may have a teacher that may struggle with classroom management, right? You want to focus on that area, right? And build their capacity around classroom management. Maybe relationships. They need strategies on how to create relationships with students, right? And how to relate to the students, right? You want to make sure that you are intentional with that. All you're doing is focusing on those relationships. Year 3 is where we talk about the evaluation, right? Now, the evaluation is more equity coaching cycle within the teacher and the evaluator. And then year 4 is the same thing, the evaluation. So once you were intentional and you focused and you built that capacity within that individual teacher, right? And they were growing throughout those school years. Now you're able to see them really flourish to the next level. And that's why I really believe, Ms. Williams, this 4-year coaching cycle, this cyclical coaching cycle is great because it's equity-based. And the reason why I say that is great, right, is because in a lot of school districts, right, and I can talk about the school district that I was with at one time, teachers never or rarely receive equity-based coaching support until they're on a professional development plan, meaning that their ratings are not where they should be, right? You almost have to fail to receive the services that you need. And that's across the board, right? So we have to be intentional because teachers are so nervous. They have a lot on their plates right now. And when you're working with them, you have to be intentional, right? And want to create that culture where we're like, we're going to build together, we're going to grow together and leverage those leadership opportunities to the teachers so they can take ownership, right? So then at the end of the day, when it comes to them, year 3 and 4, the evaluation, they're going to say, man, Ms. Williams has built my capacity all the last couple of years. I'm okay. It does not matter. And you're not leading by a rubric, right? You're being intentional. A rubric is great, and I support rubrics, but for the support of teachers and equity supports, we want to ensure that your rubric is not equality and thinking that everybody has the same issue. Teachers all have different growth issues and different strength issues, so we must make sure we're intentional by addressing those different issues that our teachers, and those are good issues, right? We want to make sure we're intentional about supporting them moving forward. So
Wow.
that's my 4-year plan, man. I'm excited about it.
Let me because you're really differentiating instruction based on the needs of the teacher. And that is one of those things that we don't consider when we're in that space. We just get all these evaluations done. Oh, I got to do these checklists, and we don't really nurture the teacher.
That's right.
I often wonder, like, how are you these are a lot of systems within this system, and it's cyclical. So how to schedule or keep it up, or are you using Google Docs, or how are you able to just capture all these people, these needs, and what does professional development look like in this big scheme of things?
I was going to go there. So I really believe, Ms. Williams, and everybody that's listening out there, you have to make sure, first of all, the language that you convey to your teachers is very important. We should not say evaluation. We need to throw that out, right? Because that's already a scarce tactic. We need to talk about professional development. Everything that we do in education is professional development. So that needs to be out there. Once we receive the data from, let's say, the survey results, your formal just weekly pop-ins or daily check-ins, right? We want to ensure that we put together a professional development coaching cycle calendar, right? And you want to focus on the different 4 pieces that I talked about: planning and preparation, right? Culture and climate, instruction, reflection. It should be, you want to make sure that you're doing that. And then within your coaching cycle, your calendar that you've created, you want to make sure that you have teacher leaders in the building that can act as liaison between yourself and those other teachers, where they can coach the teachers also, right? So that's collaboration. So we want to make sure we utilize all of our resources that is currently happening in the school building. And then once that occurs, right, you just have to be very strategic, whether you're talking about having this on the agenda. This is part of your professional learning community, right, your PLC. Or maybe you have your instructional leadership team and you leverage this responsibility to your ILT. So now they are doing peer-to-peer observations, and they're using this information and providing other teachers with feedback. That is critical, and that is key, right? So these are different strategies that we can use. And like you said, Ms. Williams, that whole cyclical model and these different systems that are in place are all equity-based to get the job done. Because what we need to remember as educational consultants, as teachers, as leaders, we can't go in that classroom and teach those students. And I'm talking about as an administrator, we can't do it. What we have to do is leverage that opportunity to those teachers and instill within them those capacity support so they can go in a classroom and do the job that we coach. Because we have to be reflective to say, my leadership is reflected by that teacher that's instilling these strategies and skills so my students becoming college and career ready. That's the mindset. Everybody's holding each other accountable.
Yes. Love it.
That's cool. That's cool. But no, this is a great plan. And I was thinking about it, even when we talk about Miss Williams, our newer teachers, they are so nervous and we throw them right in the fire. They come fresh out of college and we assume because you have a college degree, you know this, but we cannot assume. And we have to remember a lot of these teacher preparation programs are not the same. And some are preparing our teachers to teach diverse and some are not. So we have to really, really be intentional about coming in there, forcefully and providing them with that supports, because if not, then they get sucked into that culture, that negative culture, and they're just trying to just get by just to show that they're basic or satisfactory. And what we want is distinguished and excellent teachers. So I really believe that the cyclical coaching model will support our teachers in building their capacity by equity support so we can be distinguished moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Absolutely. So outside of that, I did want to share with you guys out there this new dual classroom that I was able to put together, right? And again, I'm always about equity, right? And also equality. In different schools, Ms. Williams, that I've went around and I've coached and, had conversations with different administrators, I've noticed that teachers are a little confused when it comes to what should they be focusing on, right? You're either going to focus on the achievement level supports, which is STAR assessments. I know they use that in some states, as well as NWEA, right? And a lot of school districts are focused on NWEA because it overall impacts the growth and the evaluation of the school as a whole.
Yep.
Then you have some schools that focus on whether we're talking about the, the Common Core state standards. So they focus on state standards. But you have two areas, right, that we need to address. And I have a perfect model that I think that teachers will enjoy, and our listeners out there and viewers will definitely say, I'm gonna try this when I get home, right? You have the achievement level and you have the grade level. And we need to make sure we marry both of them, because we can't assume that teachers have the skill set. And let's remember, a lot of our first year teachers that are coming out of school right now, you're talking about not differentiating, you're talking about changing the whole paradigm of a classroom. And teachers are so comfortable and content on teaching the curriculum, which 9 out of 10 is grade level. Now you're talking about you have to either include campus learning, study island, into your curriculum. That's going to be difficult when you're talking about having a 90-minute instructional block, right? So what I wanted to share with everybody out there, okay, is R. Does it look backwards to you, Miss Al? Is it backwards?
No, it's perfect.
It's perfect. It's perfect. All right. So this is the 21st century. Go ahead and do the drum roll. I seen you doing it. Okay. This is the 21st century ELA instructional block. And like I said, every single strategy that I provide, that I talk about in my book, the way that I model, you can use this for all disciplines. Even though this says ELA, you can use it for all core disciplines. Doesn't matter. So on one side of the chart, you have the Chicago Bulls. Okay, let me lower this guys out here. Okay, from Chicago, we're gonna represent the Chicago Bulls, right? And then on the other side, we have the Chicago White Sox. I envision this, and really remember when I talked about that cyclical coaching model, right? That number 2, which is coaching and climate. This can't happen until we establish those routines and procedures and have that classroom management to the T, because we're talking about transitions that are occurring. And we're talking about 60 to 90 minutes instructional blocks. We have to be crisp with this. So on one side, what you have the Chicago Bulls, you have grade level, which we talked about. And under here, I have the Common Core state standards, okay? And then under there, this is the process in which we're working, we're modeling, either myself or the co-teacher, right? You guys with me out there? Okay, we're modeling this, right? So you're modeling this, okay? Then you have guided practice. You're kind of guiding the scholars through the practice, right? And then you can either stay as a facilitator or the co-teacher that's in there, or you can leave, right? It's on you. It depends on the floor of your classroom. Now you have the scholars having productive collaboration within their Socratic seminar groups, right? That's productive group work that's happening. You have to establish that coaching climate for this to work. And then now you have the students actually doing independent work. This is their formative assessment. This is their exit ticket to show they understand the objective that you did display, right? And the reason, Ms. Williams and the rest of the guys out there that's listening, I say you can leave right here and I put a line, a dash. Because after you model this explicitly, right, then you're talking about guided instruction. So you just go through and guide with the students. You talk about guided math, guided reading, whatever, right? After that, you leave as a facilitator. You hop over here to this side. Now, the babies are walking into the classroom on the Chicago Bulls side. They get right to work because you're going to model it, then you're going to guide them through the practice. Then you're going to leave. Our other babies are either going to focus on project-based learning or achievement level, which is personalized learning. And remember, if you have a co-teacher in your classroom, this is phenomenal. So you have achievement level happening over here. These scholars are on one side of the classroom at a voice level 0 because they're working on their NWEA or their, let's say, STAR assessment results, whatever the case may be, right? They're focusing on their achievement level, right? Or they can work on project-based learning. That's why I put PBL down here. Now, once you get to this point, okay, and they're done, you can use a cold call to say, I go, I may, right? So let's say we have a 90-minute instructional block. I wish that can happen, right? Let's say for the first 45 minutes, the scholars are right here and they're working. You have all the information here. They're focused on the gradual release of responsibility. This is all grade level and it's more objective focused, right? You have them right here. Use a cold call, I go, I may. Now these Chicago White Sox become Chicago Bulls becomes Chicago White Sox. That is a great transition in the classroom. You have switched after 45 minutes if you have a 90-minute instructional block, and your babies have not only received grade level supports, They also receive achievement level supports. You have focused on 2 different areas in your instructional block for 90 minutes. That's how you can create a classroom that is 21st century, because we should have our babies working independently. We should have our babies working with project-based learning. We should have them working on the achievement level if we're talking about competency-based education, and then they should receive that instruction from us. But like I said, Ms. Williams, we have to ensure that we create that coaching climate, which is domain 2 of our coaching cycle, before we leave our babies independently over there, okay? We have to make sure that we have that going on. So once they come into the classroom, they're quiet, they have their Chromebooks out, or they're working on their individual assignment, boom, they get to work. Then you over here, you're modeling, you're going through your thing, you're guiding them through it. I go, I may, boom, they flip-flop, and this goes over here. You can modify this based on the needs and the students and what you service in your capacity, but it's a great way not only to support equity, but also to make sure that they get equality. Because a lot of teachers, they're like, we have to teach our curriculum. We bought the curriculum, which I support. You're going to knock that curriculum out, and you're going to knock that achievement level out. So you're building growth, and also you're building attainment at the same time.
Okay, that's a bit.
I'm telling you, it's in the book. It's in the book. You guys have to purchase the book. The book talks about all of this information. I'm telling you.
Oh, I love it because it kind of reminds me of, just co-teaching. We have a facilitator in the room, but that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of scaffolding and a lot of pre-work for the teacher, because the teacher not only has to plan the whole group and what the modeling looks like and the supports for students to be able to work on their own, but they also have to get the activity, the project-based together too, so the students, when they switch, they automatically know what to do and where to be. So I like it.
It's a great strategy, Ms. Williams, and you touched on this, which it's nothing new. However, we still find ourselves in the same conversation every year when we talk about co-teaching. We have to ensure that co-teacher is just the same, it's just qualified as a regular teacher in the classroom. We have to remember that. But why not have the co-teacher work on, this level here? They're working on the Chicago Bulls, so they're creating a lesson plan that just supports grade level expectation. And then the regular gen ed teacher is creating the project-based learning activities or achievement levels. So you're doing the same thing, right? However, you want to make sure that the co-teacher is used in a capacity as well as a traditional teacher, and they're not in there just assisting, like, what you need me to do? Do you need me to make a copy? No, what I need you to do is pull out that lesson that you planned, because we did this collaboratively after school yesterday, and we did it during the weekend. And like you said, it's going to take a lot of planning preparation, but this is the paradigm that needs to shatter. We have to make sure we utilize all resources that are available for our kids so we can close this achievement gap and ensure that our babies become college and career ready.
Wow. I think I just can imagine, I know at least 4 or 5 teachers that can carry this out seamlessly to actually be the leaders, like you said, of the new people who are following them to train them on this model. Wow.
Yeah, it's a great model. And like you said, you have to practice it. You have to plan. And guys, it took me a year to actually practice this. It's going to take a while to establish this culture in the climate. Your routines, procedures, transitions have to be crisp, and you can't let go. Well, they're not getting it. They will get it, but you're forthcoming. You have to stay on and stay consistent, because our babies need and want structure. So you have to implement that structure. If you want this to work, you have to make sure you have a structured classroom.
I love it. I love it. It is wonderful. And I can definitely see this happening. There's no reason why we shouldn't be trying things like this out in the schools.
Yeah, because even when you look at schools, I do a lot of research, Ms. Williams. Like our classrooms are, I walk through classrooms, whether I'm here in Chicago, I'm in Vegas, I'm in Jacksonville, I see the same look. I was in a classroom in the Grill, Jamaica, presenting 2 years ago. And it's the same traditional 19th century style classroom sitting in rows. We have to stop this, right? That's equality. equity, when you walked into my classroom, I had a kid that was laying on a beanbag, was the top student in the classroom. I had a kid with roller skates on. That was the only way he was knowing how to take that test. You have to differentiate and model the expectations based on the needs of the students. And that's why I like when you said, Ms. Williams, those relationships is key. You have to know how your kids like to learn and meet them where they are at and guide them through the process. They should not have to adjust the way that they learn to fit the way that you plan. It's not fair and it's not just. And we've been doing this too long. We have to change the narrative and change the conversation.
Wow. Well, drop the mic.
Yeah, we're going to drop the mic this year. I'm telling you, I'm walking in the classroom like, hold up. We got a remix up in here. We need chaotic structure up in here, you know. And I get a lot of that, Miss Williams, a lot of my passion. I'm a former special ed student, you know, and I learned differently. And I'm starting to see a lot of our students need that. You know, I think every student has a special need towards what they can do. And I feel that every student needs their own individualized educational plan because they all learn differently. So we have to ensure that we are meeting students where they are at and stop, you know, trying to teach everybody the same way and expecting different results.
Yep.
It's insanity. It's not going to work.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So, wow, I don't know what to say from here. You're just amazing. And thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
No problem. Anytime. You guys, please make sure you inbox me. Go to my website for more information. We have a long way to go, but we're going to do this together. So definitely inbox me.
Oh, and Black Educators Rock. Look, you.
Absolutely. I am the chapter president for Black Educators Rock here in the state of Illinois. If you need any support, please go to blackeducatorsrock.org for, you know, information regarding that. We have our virtual conference happening soon. Please make sure that you go to our Facebook page, Black Educators Rock, for more information regarding that. We're doing some phenomenal things. If you think my presentation is something, we have some guys out there and some ladies that are phenomenal that will blow the roof off. So please make sure you become a member of Black Educators Rock by going to blackeducatorsrock.org.
All right. Thank you again. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful rest of your day.
I will. Thank you.
Bye.